Hello there. You're listening to Manufacturing Tomorrow, brought to you by the Ohio Manufacturing Institute at The Ohio State University, where we discuss the latest innovations, challenges, and advancements shaping the world of manufacturing. I'm your host, Catherine Kelly. Today, we are excited to speak with Chuck Ridgeway, Automation Technology Manager and Senior Customer Advocate at Horner Automation, a division of Horner APG headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana. With more than 30 years experience in the automation and robotics industry, Chuck has dedicated his career to helping practitioners, educators, and learners understand and apply industrial automation technologies. He began his professional journey in electrical engineering, working on stamping presses and as a field applications engineer before joining Horner, where he has served in technical leadership, product management, and customer-facing roles. Chuck is widely recognized for his deep expertise with programmable logic controllers, or PLCs, operator interfaces, I/O systems, and industrial networking. And he frequently shares insights on emerging trends in technology and education through podcasts and industry events. Chuck, welcome back to the podcast. This is a rare repeat.
Yes, thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.
We're focusing today's discussion on the academic program that Horner Automation recently launched. Can you explain what inspired the company to launch this program and how it fits within the company's broader mission?
Sure. For those who aren't that familiar with Horner Automation, we're not a system integrator, as you've described. I think we're a manufacturer of automation products, and we're also a privately held company. So as a privately held company, our owners have a lot of impact on the direction of the company. And we have an owner, Phil Horner, who has been very involved. He's been on advisory boards for the local engineering school, the local Purdue extension, and he's really been a big proponent of education for many, many years. And a few years ago, he said, we need to have a more formal education program, because in areas of the country where we had an informal program, not only were we able to provide benefit to those institutions, but the benefit back to us as a company was that, our market share and our reach in those areas was much higher. So it kind of started out as him saying, hey, let's see if we can, expand that to a more formal program. And then recently, one of our chief executives kind of took it up another notch and says, with this educational program we've had for the last year or two, we've been offering, some of our midline or, cost-effective products at good prices to the institutions. Let's give them our best products and let's figure out how we can get it to them for free. So that really kicked it up another notch here just in the last little bit.
That's a wow moment.
Yeah, no kidding. When you hear from the executive that he wants to give away a really good product for free to a lot of folks, that opens your eyes.
For listeners who haven't had a chance to take a look, what exactly is included in the Horner Academic Starter Kit and how does it support hands-on learning?
Sure. So we are a manufacturer of automation products, and we've been known really for the last 10 or 15 years as all-in-one controller type products. So you talked earlier about PLCs, programmable logic controllers. We've been known as kind of pioneers at taking a PLC and adding a screen to them and providing an all-in-one type control solution. Recently, we've gone beyond that and included kind of more traditional looking products that, they're more traditional PLCs. They have some twists that aren't traditional, but they include operator interface and they include industrial networking and I/O and all the components that people need or that automation engineers need to do their job. But now, since we've expanded kind of into more traditional products from a form standpoint, that makes it even better for students because it's even more familiar. Our products are even more familiar with what they'll be working with in the field, whether what they work with in the field is from Horner or from another manufacturer.
How does the academic program address the traditional bottlenecks in automation education, especially for school labs that have limited equipment?
Yeah, I mean, that's really been the biggest. It was true when I was a student. So many years ago. It's true today, getting hands-on equipment in the hands of students earlier in their career and giving more students the opportunity to work with it really just gives them the chance to take what they're learning in the classroom and go beyond that. And obviously, the more lab equipment that's available to more students the better. So lab equipment's a huge bottleneck. It's a big expense. I mean, even if you get free equipment, there's still expense involved, right? But if you don't get free equipment, then it's even crazier. So again, we're trying to do our part to get good equipment in the hands of more students quicker.
Out of curiosity, are you offering maintenance or anything along those lines in terms of service after you donate the equipment?
Well, certainly what we're offering is a chance to do really be a partner with the institution, right? With whatever they need, right? And we don't anticipate that they're going to need to do a lot of maintenance, but we're going to partner with them so they'll understand what's involved in maintaining the equipment. And with our sort of equipment, really the only maintenance you're talking about, because it's not mechanical in nature, the only maintenance that we're talking about are things like firmware updates and those sorts of things. So the mechanics of those are pretty straightforward, and we anticipate that they'll be able, with a little bit of help from us, to be able to maintain the equipment really easily.
What feedback have you received from the educators and the students who are using the academic program kits in their classroom or lab settings?
Yeah, really, they're just excited that they're able to have more lab equipment than what they anticipated they would. They have budgets that they've been working with for years, and, every year it could be a little different. They may be anticipated, one institution we talked to had planned on like 3 or 4 lab stations they were going to try and develop. And with our program, they were able to more than double that. So again, just getting more equipment in the hands of more students quicker by getting the equipment to them that they need at really no cost.
How do you see this program influencing the future pipeline of skilled automation and controls professionals?
Well, what I think I'm most excited about is, you mentioned that I've been in automation for 30 years. Well, it's really 40, but that's okay. Who's counting, right? But over that time period, I've worked with a lot of, I'm an automation engineer myself at heart. I really am. And I've worked with a ton of them over the years, and they come from all different backgrounds, right? Some are highly educated. Some guys have all the education in the world. Other guys, they just, they have a limited amount of education, and then they got out in the field and they just blossomed. So one thing, and from my experience, even 40 years ago as a student, I know that today, some of the folks I went to school with that were, fair to middling students just exploded when they got out into the field, So I'm really excited about the opportunity for students to work with equipment, to find out if what they're studying really matches the passion of what they want to do with their career, and to give them the opportunity, for those who maybe aren't the greatest students in the world, to really thrive in that hands-on setting.
Well, as you know, there are a number of other automation companies that are in this education and training space. What are some of the key technical features of the Horner OCS controllers that make them particularly suitable for educational use?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, which is important, we use industry standard programming languages, industry standard communications networks. So what students are learning is not so specialized that they can't apply it in the real world, regardless of whose equipment they end up working on in the field. So that's critical, right? Because what's the point of learning equipment if it doesn't apply to what they're going to see in the real world? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I mentioned just briefly earlier that we've been known kind of as a company that combines PLC functionality and networking and screens into like all-in-one type components. So we have a big emphasis in our equipment. Even the equipment that looks traditional, we have a big emphasis in including all the different elements of the control application in the equipment. So the students are not only learning, how do I program this PLC, they're also learning how do I make components talk to each other using industrial networking, and how do I program, how do I set up an operator interface that very effectively allows a human to interface with that machine, whether it's to make adjustments or to get feedback, all those sorts of things. So it's more than just you're going to learn ladder logic, so you can program in ladder logic. There's all aspects to the application, and our equipment really stresses all those aspects.
And have you found, I know that this was launched pretty recently, so are there any challenges or common learning curves that you're finding with the students when they first start working with the academic starter kits?
Well, the beauty of it really is there aren't any new or different barriers to learning. So our product, most students who are exposed to our product or anybody else's in this, lab environment, it's their first exposure to a PLC or an operator interface or industrial networking. They have a background, but they don't have the knowledge of these specific components. So our components they in a lot of ways look like everybody else's components. So whatever, barriers they have to learning about that type of product are no different with our products than anyone else's. But we have always placed an emphasis with our products to try and make them easy to work with for our customers. And we think that helps students as well.
Let's look at the bigger picture. In your view, what role should industry and manufacturers play in supporting automation and robotics education at the K through 12 and collegiate levels?
Sure. So I think there's three different things I would say. Okay. First of all, I think, of course, what we're talking about today, making equipment available, as much as possible to institutions, that's a step we can take. Another step we can take is by providing tools. Okay. And those tools aren't just equipment. Those tools are information. Those tools are videos on how to use equipment, right? Because that type of video how-to or video educational material is useful to my customers, but it's also useful to students who are learning about maybe my product, but also might be learning about general industrial networking topics. What is Modbus TCP? What is Ethernet IP? How does it work? All those sorts of things. They can learn that from material that the manufacturers put out. So that's the second thing. And then I think the third thing really is mentoring. I think, and this is more of an individual basis, right? We need, as manufacturers, we need to encourage our employees who have experience and knowledge to mentor those young folks, even down at the junior high and high school level with their robotics teams and those sorts of things, just to, kind of pass that enthusiasm and knowledge of what's possible to that younger generation.
In terms of the geographic reach of the educational program, I mean, are you in Indiana only, or what are some of the other areas in which you've already implemented this? Sure.
Yeah. No, we've got implementations going in Arkansas and California and Indiana, of course. So no, this is a nationwide type effort, and we have Horner folks in all those areas that are waving the flag for this program and looking to establish partnerships with those local institutions that are looking or are needing this sort of support.
And are you looking to expand beyond those areas are you trying to expand the reach of the program beyond the partners that you already have, or do you see opportunities for partnerships beyond that?
No question. And really, partnership is the key. This program isn't all about us blindly sending equipment out to people who ask for it, right? It's us establishing a partnership with an institution that has a need. We want to understand what those needs are, right? What are they looking to accomplish with this, with their laboratory or other, hands-on type equipment that they're trying to implement? What are they trying to accomplish in their program from a curriculum standpoint? What aspect does maybe networking and operator interface and programming play in their curriculum, so that we can help them with curriculum development. We can make sure that they meet their goals, obviously from a laboratory standpoint as well. And then, like you mentioned earlier, we can make sure that they have the information they need and the connections they need to maintain everything so that it's a valuable program for years and years and years to come.
Fantastic. So what excites you most about the future of automation education and how programs like this can shape the next generation of engineers and technicians?
I think really kind of what I touched on before is just the opportunity for people who are interested in a technical education or a technical career, just the opportunity to help those folks get exposed to some, real equipment and real applications, at an earlier age, so they can really see if this is really what they're looking to pursue. And I think what a lot of them will find is that it's a pretty exciting career, and the hands-on portion of it is one of the most exciting aspects of it.
Chuck, I'm going to open up the floor to you. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I mean, we're just, at Horner, we're a relatively small company. We're not tiny, but we're not a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And, we're just trying to expand our reach as far as we can. And we think that by helping these institutions, meet their goals, we're helping ourselves as well.
Well, thank you again, Chuck, for being a repeat guest on our podcast.
Great. It's a pleasure and an honor.